Well, I think Transmania is one of those things where when you put Jenner on the cover of a magazine and you put TV shows on and do all these things, you sort of create this crazy mania. Well, I've got to become a transgender. And so now it's almost part of style to be a transgender. You know, you see all this going on and you want to join the parade, you want to join the action. So I'll identify as a transgender so I can get into this crazy mania, because it's this psychological mania about becoming transgender. The problem is that, like a drunk who goes out and has a real good time some night and he's having all these drinks, and the next morning he wakes up with his hangover and he goes, what in the world did I just do? That's what happens when people hit the wall on their transgender life and think the only way out of it is to commit suicide. So the mania is a temporary reprieve from reality and who you really are, and you live out this crazy notion that you're a transgender person. Isn't it interesting that a transgender person has no gender, right? They want all these things. A transgender is what? You know, they're half one and half the other. They've been altered surgically, hormonally, but are they really? No. Have a biological test, you'll find they're still the same. Nothing ever changed.
With the last few years, we've seen an increase of calls coming from parents, specifically girls, and it seems to be more around the celebration. The media has celebrated this, that if you are looking for a place to belong, the LGBT says, come on in, we'll accept you. You know, well, maybe you're gay, maybe you're transgender, and kind of coach them in that. And sadly, there's a lot of coaching that goes on online. So I ask the world to consider what's going to happen with a generation of young children or teenagers that we are coaching, that we are approving of transitioning when they become 35 and 40 years old. And where are they going to be on the suicide anxiety scope? Where will they be on the suicidal scope as well? Cultural-wise, we're seeing a big change, and I believe some of that, if we look back at Dancing with the Stars, when Chastity Bono had come on to the show as Chaz. That was the beginning of parents calling and saying, my daughter sees Chastity being very happy, she seems very healthy, and saying, see, she's happy. Well, we can appear differently on television or even in front of friends and not really know the pain that's behind the scenes. We had then, of course, Bruce Jenner, who came out and honestly seemed to be the poster child, if we can refer him to that way, as an adult with this issue. And with that, it was like the world was taken by storm. What? Bruce Jenner, the Olympic winner, you know, the masculine of the masculine, and how he was viewed as a person. And it seemed to have taken us on a different level. All of a sudden, we have transgender shows, we have churches that are moving in this direction. What, you can't, you know, we've got to be compassionate and agree with the lie that they are telling us. People are feeling threatened. They don't know if they can speak the truth without hurting somebody's feelings or starting even a family feud that many times begins with this issue. We have schools, I hear from schools where there were 3 girls that had been friends for a lifetime. Now they're in high school and all 3 of them decided to transition. Now that's not the rare case of gender dysphoria. So we're starting to see here the results of peers and the influence of peers. If you are a teenager or a child and you don't feel like you belong, and you feel different or you feel isolated, even if it isn't because of sexuality or gender issues, you will find a family with the LGBT. And because of their outreach, because of how they come across in meeting and making people feel part of the family, we are losing loved ones from the churches that are finding a place there. There's so much peer pressure even with boys who already feel more comfortable with girls. And as girls, we usually love, we have that nature, and we don't want to hurt their feelings, so we bring them into our world not realizing the damage that we're really doing to the individual. And many times girls will help them to teach them how to dress, how to put on makeup, how to sound like a girl. There's so much coaching that is available with peers on YouTube, on the internet, that the world is at their very hands.
Our teenagers, their job psychologically and socially is to claim an identity, to figure out where they fit in the world. They try on different roles. That's their job psychologically and socially. And what's happening? Well, now a mental illness and or lie is being held out as, hey, this can explain all your angst. And it is literally cool. I mean, kids tell us this. Oh, yeah, I came out as transgender, and man, I have so many friends now. Teenagers are telling researchers, it is way easier coming out. I thought I was lesbian, but nope, I'm trans. It is easier and more socially acceptable for teenagers to come out trans rather than lesbian or gay. And for this reason, I think especially conservative and Christians need to understand there are many adults who identify as lesbian, gay, and bisexual who oppose the transgender agenda, who actually do see that this is physically and psychologically harmful for children. In fact, the majority of teenagers who are being sucked into the transgender ideology, the vast majority of them are girls. And the majority of these girls have same-sex attractions. And so the radical feminists who support LGBT rights are saying, oh my goodness, you are erasing lesbian girls. You're sterilizing lesbian girls. So there is common ground across the political spectrum, in fact, in terms of seeing the lies of transgenderism and seeing the harm to youth.